Finally, the last review. This is Blades of Thunder, a modern on-rails helicopter shoot 'em up in 3D. The more I play this one, the better it gets, so why not, let's take a look. This game, unlike the last two, actually has a story. Basically, a small insurgency group provides supplies and arms to poor countries of the world. Eventually they gain support from these countries and grow very strong to the point that the Western armies consider them a threat. They've grown strong enough to attack the Middle East by the time you start the game. And that's where you come in. You command an attack helicopter and your job is to basically blow shit up and destroy the terrorist threat. When you start the game, you're given a few difficulty options, so if you ever want to replay the game on a higher difficulty setting, you can always do that. The game also uses a password system, which is odd considering it came out in 2005. At least it isn't overly complicated and it does the job. When you commence, you get a briefing for each of the 10 levels in the game, and for each sector you get a general briefing like this one. The text scrolling could be faster on these briefing segments. We also have briefings for the primary and secondary missions in each level. Some levels contain more primary missions or secondary missions, and some have just one primary objective. The important thing is that secondary missions just give you points while primary objectives are required to finish a level. So here we are. This is the gameplay. The game's graphics may look quite bad on the large screen, but on a small GBA screen it's much easier to see and play. The game packs significantly more content than the last two games combined. The 10 levels of this game will take you across 3 different terrains, from deserts, to snowy plains, and to a more European theme. Each terrain has its own music as well. Each level is about 10 to 15 minutes long, so the game takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to finish on the easy setting. The controls are also pretty good. You could strafe as well as change your altitude. Aiming is also pretty easy as you'll be spending a lot of time dodging gunfire and missiles, which is fun. With all the action comes some slowdown, since having a lot of enemies on the screen is pretty hectic, but it actually makes it easier to kill the enemies. There's a lot of variety in the game, such as the weapons and enemies. We have an effective cannon with unlimited ammo, unguided rockets, and lock-on rockets also, that can target multiple enemies at the same time. Power-ups can be picked up in later levels to increase the damage and the amount of rockets that can be fired at one time. The enemies can range from jeeps to anti-air guns to other helicopters, and it's satisfying to blow them all up. But you have to be careful sometimes as there are civilian buildings you shouldn't destroy and allied vehicles you need to protect. The game also has a boss level at the end of each sector, and each one is unique and fun in their own ways. They aren't too challenging unless played on a higher difficulty setting, but they're still very fun and accompanied with more intense music. Don't worry if you die during any part of the level, as there are checkpoints to restart from and extra lives at your disposal. When you finish a level, you are awarded with a score based on secondary objective completion and how many enemies you killed in the level. The score carries over to other levels within the sector, and extra lives can be attained with higher scores. Another thing to mention is that since your health and ammo are limited, you can always pick up more of it during the levels when you fly over pickup stations. So, that's Blades of Thunder, a good attempt at a 3D rail shooter and somewhat similar to older rail shooters like 1942. So, what do I think? I think it's pretty good.